Above 8,000 meters, breath is a battle and the mountain sets the terms. On that morning, an avalanche struck 10 climbers on this mountain. Among them was one of the most celebrated mountaineers of his generation, Nirmal Purza, Nimsdai.
Giving up is not in the blood, sir. It's not in the blood.
Over the next hour, we'll walk you through exactly what happened on that mountain, hour by hour, and then the story of how a boy from Chitwan changed what Nepali mountaineering meant to the world. Follow along for the full timeline and subscribe for the rest of the story. Here's what is confirmed according to the Alpine Club of Pakistan, Elite Exped, and Nepal's government as of this recording. On July 27, Purza posted that his team had reached base camp, announcing the last-minute addition of Broad Peak to his summer plans. Overnight between July 29 and 30, the 10-member team pushed from lower camps toward Camp 2 and Camp 3, along the mountain's west side using fixed ropes set earlier in the season. At around 5:33 a.m. local time on July 30, GPS trackers placed Purza at roughly 6,166 meters near Camp 2. At approximately 9:20 to 9:30 a.m. local time, an avalanche struck the climbing party on the slope between Camp 2 and Camp 3 at approximately 6,600 meters. Within minutes, satellite trackers registered a rapid fall of several hundred meters from multiple climbers. Purza's tracker showed a fall of roughly 800 meters, and one climber's tracker showed a fall nearly to the base camp. Communication with the entire 10-person team was lost soon after. Rescue services weren't formally alerted until that evening, several hours after the slide. Weather finally allowed search operations to begin the next morning, July 31st, with ground teams and helicopters deployed from Broad Peak Base Camp. The first two bodies were recovered and identified that day, Nadira Al-Harthi of Oman and Pur Bahadur Gurung, known as Yukta of Nepal. Two more bodies were recovered over the following day, bringing the confirmed count to 4, with 6 still missing. On August 1, Nepal's Prime Minister Balendra Shah confirmed that one of the recovered bodies was Purza's. Hours later, Elite Expect issued an official statement confirming his death and stating that no member of the 10-person team had survived. The accident happened on Broad Peak's west side, on the section of fixed rope connecting Camp 2 and Camp 3, roughly at 6,600 meters, a little over 21,700 feet. According to Pakistani mountaineer Samson Sharaf, who tracked the climbers' positions in real time, the 10-person party was moving together along this corridor when the slope released. For context, Broad Peak at 8,051 meters is the world's 12th highest mountain, sitting in Pakistan's Karakoram range, a short distance from K2. It has a long, exposed summit ridge, notoriously unstable snowpack, and weather that can shift from stable to lethal within days. It has killed climbers before. In 2013, a serac collapse on the mountain killed 3 people. Its position next to Godwin-Austen Glacier also means avalanche debris can travel unusually long distances once it starts moving. Climbers who were on the mountain in the days before the accident described a shift in conditions. One veteran alpinist attempting Broad Peak without oxygen told reporters that as late as July 19, avalanche danger on the route was assessed as low. In his words, most of what could slide already had. But heavy snowfall began around July 22 and continued on and off for days afterward, loading the slopes with fresh, unstable snow in the run-up to July 30. No official cause has been confirmed as of this recording, and no formal investigation result has been published. What is being discussed among climbers and avalanche watchers as a hypothesis, not a finding, is a combination of factors consistent with the terrain and that week's weather. Fresh snow hadn't yet had time to stabilize. When loading on that slope, the possibility of slab release, where a cohesive layer of snow breaks away from the layer beneath it, and rising daytime temperatures, which can weaken the bond between snow layers. Samson Sharaf, who has been compiling tracker and terrain data on the accident, described the slope where it happened as clearly visible in satellite imagery, an overhang above the fixed line corridor the team was climbing through. Beyond that, the specific trigger, what exactly caused the slope to fall at the moment, has not been officially established. The rescue effort was hampered from the start. According to expedition sources, the call for an aerial rescue wasn't made until hours after the avalanche. The reason for that delay has been publicly explained. By the time it was, poor weather over the Karakoram had already begun limiting helicopter operations. Ground teams launched the first search efforts. Alpine Club of Pakistan officials, General Secretary Ayaz Ahmad Shikri and President Irfan Arshad Khan confirmed there had been no communication with any member of the 10-person team since the slide. Karar Haidari of the Alpine Club told reporters the club was coordinating a helicopter rescue attempt for the following morning, weather permitting. Elite Pakistani climbers Sirbaz Khan and Shirzad Karim were flown in to lead search efforts from Broad Peak Base Camp. Nearby, several teams that had been attempting K2 abandoned their own summit pushes to help with the search, a reminder of how tightly connected the high-altitude climbing community is, even across different mountains and different expeditions. Recovery, once it began, was slow and difficult. Bodies had to be located across the debris field spread over a vertical mile of mountainside, some resting almost at base camp, others much higher. Weather closed the window for helicopter flights repeatedly over the following 2 days, which is part of why identification took as long as it did. The first 2 bodies weren't confirmed until a full day after the avalanche, and the process continued into August 1. As of this recording, investigations into exact cause remain informal, driven mostly by climbers and journalists piecing together tracker data and terrain photography, rather than a formal government inquiry. Whether Pakistani authorities will open a broader review of the incident has not been yet announced. Why does one avalanche, one mountain matter this much beyond the climbing world? 3 reasons. First, scale. Nimsdai wasn't simply one mountaineer. He held one of the sport's most significant records and was actively pursuing a feat no one in the history had completed. Climbing all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks twice without oxygen. Second, the reaction. Within hours, tribute came in from Olympic athletes, fellow climbers, Nepali government officials, and international news organizations, a breath of reaction rarely seen for mountaineering death. And third, what Nepal lost isn't fully captured by the word climber. To understand that, you need his backstory.
Nimsdai and that movie 14 Peaks, for people who haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It talks about Nimsdai who climbed all 14 8,000 plus peaks in a matter of less than 12 months or something.
Nirmal Purja was born on July 25, 1983 in Dana, a small village in Magdi district. His family later moved and he grew up largely in Chitwan, which is why both places come up when people tell his story. Like many families from Gorkha communities, his childhood was shaped by the tradition of military service. He followed his father and older brothers into the British Army in 2003, joining the Brigade of Gorkhas, and later earned a place in the Special Boat Service, widely regarded as one of the most demanding special forces unit on the planet, with a selection process so brutal that only a small fraction of applicants make it through. In 2011, during a military mission, he narrowly survived being shot at by a sniper. He spent 16 years in uniform. His transition into climbing wasn't a childhood dream. Most elite mountaineers start in their teens. Purja didn't seriously begin until his late 20s, when a routine 2012 trek to Everest Base Camp turned into something else entirely. Instead of turning back, he kept climbing. Before most people had heard his name, he was already known within the climbing community for a different reason: running towards danger instead of away from it. In 2016, he took part in a rescue that saved a stranded Gorkha expedition. an act of courage that, combined with his high-altitude achievements the following year, earned him an MBE, Member of the Order of the British Empire, awarded by Queen Elizabeth II in 2018. One rescue became international news. In 2019, while descending Annapurna, Pooja learned that a Malaysian doctor, Chin Woo Kin, had been stranded near the summit for 2 days without oxygen. He abandoned his own descent, dangled from a rope beneath a helicopter, and brought the stranded doctor down the mountain. For Pooja, that moment said as much about his priorities as any summit did. To understand why his 2019 project mattered, you have to understand the scale of what he was attempting. Only a few dozen people in history had ever climbed all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks. It's often called mountaineering Grand Slam, one of the sport's defining tests of endurance. The existing speed record for doing it stood at nearly 8 years. Pooja announced he'd do it in 7 months.
In life, whatever you want to do has got two angles. Either you invest your career in that, you build up, you become so good so you can...
Some experts didn't just doubt the timeline, they doubted the biology, arguing the human body couldn't recover fast enough between 14 extreme altitude expeditions to make that base survivable. Mountaineer Sir Chris Bonington went further, arguing it wasn't just real mountaineering at all, just speed for its own sake.
You weren't born on the mountains, or you didn't grow up on the mountains.
I didn't even grow up in the mountains, I wasn't even born in the mountains. And I grew.
What most people didn't see was the fight behind the fight. Pooja had almost no sponsorship when he started. To fund it, he remortgaged his own house, with his wife Suchi backing him from day one. The 7 months that followed meant time away from his family, ongoing financial risk, repeated frostbite danger, and a level of physical exhaustion most people never experience. He named the project Project Possible, a direct answer to the doubters. He finished in 6 months and 6 days, breaking the previous record by more than 7 years, at points summiting multiple 8,000-meter peaks within days of each other. Along the way, he gave up his own oxygen supply more than once to help stranded climbers survive. Some of the criticism centered on his use of helicopters between expeditions. And it's worth explaining why. He wasn't skipping any climbing. Every summit was still reached on foot. The helicopters saved him weeks of overland travel between mountains, time he didn't have on a 7-month clock. To his critics, it was a shortcut. To Pooja, it was how an impossible timeline became possible. If Reinhold Messner redefined what was physically possible in mountaineering, Pooja redefined what was logistically possible. The Netflix documentary that followed, 14 Peaks, Nothing is Impossible, turned a niche mountaineering story into a global one, introducing millions of people, many of whom had never given Nepal a second thought, to Pooja's name and to Nepali climbers who make Himalayan mountaineering possible in the first place. That same year, one photograph did something no record could. Pooja captured an image of hundreds of climbers queued along Everest summit ridge. That photo went around the world and sparked a global debate about overcrowding, commercialization, and safety on the world's highest peaks. He hadn't just climbed the mountain, he'd shaped the conversation about it. 14 8,000-meter peaks climbed in 6 months and 6 days back in 2019, 57 total ascents above 8,000 meters over his career, 16 years in the British Army and Special Boat Service, more than 10 Guinness World Records tied to high-altitude climbing, 1 MBE awarded in 2018. Multiple Guinness World Records back up those numbers, independent verification, not self-reported claims. But Pooja's biggest contribution wasn't the record. For decades, foreign climbers claimed the glory while Nepali Sherpas and high-altitude workers stayed invisible, nameless support in someone else's story. Pooja insisted his Sherpas and Nepali teammates be named and credited in their own right. He carried his own loads, helped fix ropes himself, and climbed alongside his crew rather than above them, which is part of why Sherpas respected him differently than they did many expedition leaders. He was also one of the first Nepali climbers to build a global personal brand. Instagram, motivational videos, behind-the-scene footage at a time when most climbers let their summits speak for themselves. And he wasn't only chasing peaks, he was building institutions, Elite Exped, his guiding company, Mustang Helicopter, where he served as a chairman, and the Nimsdai Foundation, working on welfare for high-altitude workers and sustainability across the Himalayas. For decades, the assumption in international mountaineering was simple. The foreign climber leads, the Sherpa helps. Pooja challenged that, not with statements but by example, and that shift in perception is arguably his biggest historical impact. He also became a symbol for Gorkha veterans more broadly. Proof that military discipline could translate into achievement the whole world was watching. Pooja's story isn't only of one achievement. His life wasn't without controversy, and on balance, much of what he did benefited Nepali society, but that tension is part of understanding his real legacy. Even at the height of his success, the debate around him never fully stopped. He was at once admired, criticized, respected, and questioned. In May 2024, the New York Times published accounts from two women, Finnish climber Lotta Hintsa and American physician April Leonardo, who alleged Pooja had sexually harassed and assaulted them. Pooja, through his lawyers, denied all the allegations as false and defamatory. The fallout was immediate and public. Several sponsor brands and fellow climbers publicly distanced themselves from him. At least one Nepali member of parliament called for a government investigation. His public image, built for years on trust and heroism, took a visible hit, and opinion in the climbing community split sharply. Some stood by him, others said the allegation should end his standing in sport. There is no public record of these allegations reaching a formal legal verdict because no court reached a conclusion. These allegations remain disputed, and viewers should distinguish accusation from legally established findings. The story reignited a wider, ongoing conversation in mountaineering about the safety of women on expeditions. His climbing style drew separate, more technical criticism. Traditionalist alpinists argued that large teams and fixed ropes meant his ascents weren't real alpine-style mountaineering, part of a broader debate in the sport about what commercialization and speed have done to mountaineering generally, not a judgment aimed at Pooja alone. During the wider True Summit controversy on Manaslu, where many climbers across many expeditions were found to have stopped short of the actual highest point, questions were also raised about whether Pooja's own ascent reached the true summit, though his overall 14-peak record has never been formally revoked. Pooja's own response was consistent, that critics were limiting themselves, that he'd been the first to shake hands with anyone who broke his record because that's what progress looks like. When the news was confirmed, Nepal didn't lose a climber, it lost a symbol. Flags were lowered, candles were lit in Kathmandu. Tributes came from climbers, sponsors, and government officials, echoing one idea: mountaineering would never be the same without him. Perhaps his most lasting legacy is the one that cannot be measured in records. An entire generation of young Nepali climbers who say openly that they picked up an ice axe because of him. Before Pooja, mountaineering in Nepal was often a livelihood passed down out of necessity. After him, for many young Sherpas, it became something else too, a path to recognition on their own terms. Behind the records was a family. Pooja is survived by his wife Suchi, who backed him from the beginning, and their daughter Himani. If there's any comfort in how it happened, it's this. By all accounts, he died doing exactly what he loved. Mid-mission, chasing a goal almost no one else on Earth had dared to chase. Several questions remain open in the days ahead. What happens to Elite Exped, the company Pooja co-founded? Leadership and its founder's death raised real questions about the company's future direction, though no official statement on succession has been made public yet. Will his hat-trick project, the bid to become the first person to climb all 14 8,000-meter peaks twice without oxygen, one peak short at Cho Oyu, be attempted by anyone else, or does it end with him? That too remains unanswered. And how will Nepal formally remember him? Government tributes have already begun. But whether that becomes something more permanent, an honor, a monument, A program in his name is still being decided. How history remembers Nimsdai is still being written, but one thing is already certain. After him, the story of Nepali mountaineering was not the same. Giving up is not in the blood. Nirmal Nimsdai Purza. Records get broken, mountains get climbed again, but every time a Nepali climber stands on a summit and the world learns their name, part of that moment traces back to him. Leave your tributes in the comments, follow the link to learn more about Nimsdai Foundation, and subscribe for the rest of the story as it develops.